The story begins with a fisherman by the riverside. As he was adjusting the hook on his fishing rod, he accidentally injured his hand. To wash off the wound, he stepped into the water, allowing a bit of his blood to mix in. Within moments, a massive dragon emerged from the water. It was the ancient ice dragon, awakened from beneath the earth due to global warming. After spending so many years frozen, it was extremely hungry. The legendary ice dragon instantly attacked the fisherman. With huge wings, it swooped down and devoured him. The dragon was eating humans like they were nothing more than peanuts. The fisherman's body parts were scattered everywhere. But this was only the beginning. The scene shifts to a small town nearby, where people were peacefully living their lives. A man named Jack had recently arrived there. Some time ago, Jack's brother had died in a car accident. Since then, Jack had become quite lonely. He worked as a carpenter, moving from place to place. At the moment, Jack was fixing some things near a restaurant. Inside that restaurant worked a woman named Claire. When she saw Jack, it seemed like she began to like him. It was obvious Jack was a kind-hearted man who would help anyone without hesitation. Claire even brought him a coffee. But as she stepped outside, Dr. David showed up. Dr. David liked Claire and didn't want any other man to get close to her. He took the coffee meant for Jack and told Claire they should go out and have fun together. But Claire wasn't interested in him and politely declined. Still, she felt bad that the coffee she had brought for Jack was taken by David. Later, Claire invited Jack inside the restaurant and gave him a coffee. While Jack was resting there, he noticed a woman named Adina. What surprised him most was that Adina always ordered 2 breakfasts. One for herself and another for a friend who didn't exist. Just like Jack lost his brother in a car crash, Adina had lost a family member and still imagined them and spoke to them as if they were alive. Seeing this, Jack felt a bit uneasy. When Claire learned about Jack's brother's death, she showed deep sympathy. But Jack wasn't interested in such emotional exchanges and left to focus on his work. Jack then drove into the forest to collect some wooden supplies. Eventually, Dr. David showed up there too. He wanted to treat Jack's hand injury. After a quick checkup, he gave him all the necessary medicine. But the real reason David had come wasn't medical. He directly asked Jack if he liked Claire. Jack replied no, saying he was just there for work, and once he received his brother's insurance paperwork, he would leave the city. David, feeling relieved, began to leave. But what he didn't know was it might be his last visit. Dr. David, now completely at ease, walked away. His biggest worry had been that Claire might fall for Jack, which would push him out of her life. David spent some time alone in the forest, as he found peace in nature. But soon he heard strange noises, which startled him. Although such sounds weren't unusual in the forest, they were coming from wild creatures. As David continued walking, he suddenly saw it. The same legendary ice creature flying in the sky, now heading directly toward him. Terrified, David hid behind a tree. After a while, he thought the dragon might have left. There was no one to be seen around. So David ran straight toward his car. But little did he know, it was all part of the legendary ice creature's plan. Just as David reached his car, the creature swooped down and attacked it directly. The ice dragon had taken Dr. David's life. Its razor-sharp teeth and claws were powerful enough to tear through any human body. However, the people of the town were still unaware of the dangerous threat approaching them. Something had to be done or people would continue to die like this. A short while later, we are shown another man who had entered the forest for hunting. As he moved forward, he saw a pile of fresh flesh. It looked too recent, which frightened him. But once again, the same thing happened. The ice creature suddenly flew down toward him. The terrified man immediately began firing his gun in panic. The sound of the gunshots echoed far and wide. A nearby sheriff, hearing the shots, started heading toward that direction. On the way, he ran into Jack, and together they entered the forest. The sound of continuous gunfire led them forward until they found the injured man. As the sheriff and Jack reached him, the man told them there was a creature in the forest. One that could fly and looked like a dragon. It was essential to kill it before it hurt anyone else. First, the sheriff and Jack helped the injured man into the car. Although the sheriff didn't fully believe him, they knew they had to investigate. Suddenly, Jack noticed a severed hand nearby. Seeing the watch on the wrist, Jack immediately realized it belonged to Dr. David. That meant David was dead. This horrifying confirmation suggested that the hunter's story might be completely true. Jack insisted they shouldn't take this lightly. There had to be a proper investigation before more lives were lost. Jack and the sheriff went back to question the hunter. The man explained clearly that the creature had come from above. Its teeth and claws were so sharp it could easily kill anyone. He warned that the creature might soon attack the entire town. Although the sheriff had initially been skeptical, he now had no choice but to take action. He sent the injured to receive treatment and brought the rest to Claire's restaurant for safety. The sheriff informed everyone that a predator had come to their town and was killing people. Until they knew more and could capture or stop it, no one was to leave their homes under any circumstances. Going outside could be deadly. Soon after, another sheriff named Susie arrived, carrying Dr. David's severed hand. When Claire learned the news, she broke down in tears. Everyone else was equally shocked and horrified. Sheriff ordered Susie to take the hand back to the station, as such graphic evidence would only incite more panic among the people. It had already attacked a man named Thomas. More information about the creature was urgently needed. That's when we're introduced to Travis, a retired soldier, observing the area carefully through binoculars. Suddenly, Travis spotted the dragon flying through the sky with its massive wings. He found it extremely suspicious. How could such a huge creature be allowed to fly freely over the town? It posed a massive threat to everyone. Without wasting any time, Travis grabbed his gun, got into his car, and began following it. The creature was still in the sky when Travis got out and opened fire. But unfortunately, the ice dragon was far too fast. It quickly vanished into the distance. Poor Travis had no idea who to report this to. Just then, Sheriff Susie arrived, and he began explaining everything to her, that he had seen a huge flying creature and that it needed to be destroyed with military force. But Susie assumed Travis had just been drinking too much. She thought he was rambling nonsense about things that didn't even exist. No one was believing Travis's story about a giant flying creature in their town. Maybe they'd only believe him once the dragon actually started attacking people. But Travis wasn't the type to sit quietly. He returned to town to warn everyone. Meanwhile, Susie called her senior sheriff to report that some locals were talking about strange creatures. We then see that the sheriff had gone to visit Thomas, the man who had reported being attacked. As soon as the sheriff arrived at Thomas's farm, he slipped, because the ground was soaked in blood. He looked around and was shocked to discover Thomas's mutilated dead body. The body was torn apart so badly that the limbs were separated. Terrified, the sheriff fainted on the spot. In other words, there was no actual way to kill it. But Jack wasn't the kind of person to just sit back and give up. He decided to go find out more about the creature, and Claire went with him. From their car, they could clearly see the flying dragon and began chasing it deep into the forest. Eventually, they reached the place where the creature had built its nest. This was its resting ground. Meanwhile, Travis was shown driving ahead in his truck when he came across several crashed vehicles surrounded by blood. It was obvious the dragon had attacked here, and there were no survivors in sight. On the other side, Hen was still trying to connect with a soldier or the military, but even the electricity system had failed. Jack slowly moved his vehicle forward and handed Claire a gun, asking her to stay inside. He then went ahead alone and found the creature's nest. Claire was sitting quietly in the vehicle when suddenly, the creature arrived. It had caught her scent and started sniffing around. Though Claire stayed calm, the creature began attacking the truck. Claire kept shooting at it with the gun. Hearing the commotion, Jack ran back toward her. When he reached the truck, Claire wasn't inside, but soon he realized that the dragon had flown away, and Claire had hidden nearby. She came out and hugged Jack tightly. Soon after, Travis arrived with his gun. He said they had to leave the place immediately because the creature would keep attacking the townspeople until it was destroyed. And the best way to do that was to fight it together. So the three of them, Jack, Claire, and Travis, started heading back to town. Along the way, Jack tried contacting Hen. She informed him that the sheriff had been killed and that they could no longer contact him. The antenna was also extremely weak. Eventually, Jack, Claire, and Travis reached the hideout where the rest of the survivors were sheltered. Their top priority now was to contact military forces and start the evacuation process. But Hen explained that the current antenna wasn't strong enough to transmit that kind of frequency. However, she did mention that there was a large antenna in a nearby store. If they could replace the existing one with it, the signal might get through. Jack immediately set out to retrieve it from the other building. On the way, they came across the dead sheriff's vehicle, and inside they found several weapons. They handed over all the weapons and bullets to Travis so that he could distribute them equally among the survivors. It was important that everyone knew how to protect themselves first. Jack then went up to the rooftop with the large antenna and began replacing the weak one. There were several screws that he was steadily fastening, but from above we could see the same creature approaching them. Hen spotted it and quickly urged Jack to hurry up. To buy him more time, she fired at the creature. Jack managed to finish installing the antenna just in time and climbed down. If he had delayed even a little, the creature would have killed him too. Back at the hideout, they connected the new antenna and tried to contact the nearest military station. As the signal gradually came through, Jack didn't directly mention that they were under attack by a creature. Instead, he made up a story that a gas explosion was about to happen and that all remaining survivors needed to be evacuated. But soon after, all connections were lost again. Jack and the others didn't know whether help would ever arrive. It was entirely possible they were now trapped there forever, and that the creature would eventually wipe them all out. That's when Jack and the remaining survivors decided to go into the forest and destroy not only the dragon but also its nest and eggs. Soon they reached the spot. Travis suggested they use the eggs to lure the dragon and destroy it for good. He planned to place the eggs in a truck and drive them far away toward the mountains. But he insisted on doing it alone because it was an extremely risky task. As Jack started driving the truck carrying the eggs, the creature was right behind him. It would do anything to protect its offspring. The dragon climbed onto the truck and began tearing it apart. But Jack's plan was clear. He drove to the edge of a steep mountain road, and just as the truck was about to fall, he jumped out. The dragon, along with its eggs, plummeted from the height and was finally destroyed. The best part, this terrifying creature was now dead. Jack returned to the town and resumed his life there peacefully. And with that, our story also comes to an end.